Hey, it's Korinn, 365 days of open heart living, day 154, a new order. Have you been feeling like you need a change, like you need a new order in the way that you are in the world, in your life? Do you feel like there's a different level you could be functioning at? Bringing more goodness into the world, bringing more light into your body and sustenance and spiritual sustenance. There's a lot that maybe doesn't make sense in your life and in the world, and the heart is the place to go to make sense of things that are incomprehensible. When you practice opening the awareness of your heart, you bring in more light into your body. You naturally and organically are connected to the feeling of what the heart feels like to be open, and the virtues of the heart, the virtues of an open heart. Because when your heart is open and you can feel the openness, there's such truth that comes in you, that comes within you, in the presence of your own open heart. Opening your heart is the way. Your heart is your way. And when we need a new order in the world, in our lives, individually and collectively, the heart is the best place to go. There are certain virtues that the heart has naturally, and we close ourselves off from these virtues being easy to access and easy to feel by the things we close off from in our life, in the world. They can be things that we see being done, or they can be emotions and feelings that we have inside of ourselves. And it closes off the heart and it blocks the heart, creates tension and tightness around the heart, so that the heart is tight, not relaxed, not open. But this practice I'm going to teach today is one I've taught many, many times, the inner smile. But I'm just talking about it a little bit different today, in the sense of it being time to create a new order in the world and in your life. Because in doing the practice of the inner smile, which is a light body practice, it is a practice that activates and opens your spiritual body of light that you have, that is very much so integrated into your physical self, but is also non-physical. The light body practice of the inner smile is a practice to open your heart, to cultivate open awareness of your heart, so that those virtues that are natural for the heart to feel, to contain, to have operationally in good standing, so that these are virtues you have because your heart is open. This practice is a way for you to start bringing that focus and that experience back to you as your own way in the world, by feeling and being in touch with your heart. And the virtues I will, share here in a moment, but it's not mental. They're not mental. This practice gets our focus of being in the head. We are head-centered beings. We think about everything. We plan things out. We think about what happened the day, days prior. We think about what's going to happen in the future. We're, have to think and problem solve and do all this mental stuff. And so as human beings, we are head-centered. But God has designed us to operate in a different way that we have blocked ourselves from. He has designed us to operate from being heart-centered, because that is where your true power and your true light of divinity come forth from within you out into the world. That's where your change in yourself is going to happen. That is when the change you can make in the world, that is from where the change you are going to make in the world comes from. Your heart-centeredness. But have you been heart-centered in the way you've been feeling, in the way you've been thinking, or have you been mind-centered? Where's your heart in all of this? I think perhaps it is time to create a new order of being able to shift from the head to the heart for the goodness of yourself and for more light to be in the world for the goodness of all. The virtues of the heart are virtues like compassion. You have to have an open heart to feel genuine compassion. Otherwise, it's sympathy. And sympathy has a shadow in it. We can be sympathetic, but there's a detachment there. In compassion of the heart, it's more of a whole feeling. It's more of bringing the person you feel compassion for into your heart instead of keeping them outside and sympathizing for them. The virtue of the heart, that is also an interesting aspect, is courage. You have to have a true open heart to have courage. Otherwise, it's just bravery, just bravado, just ego, just pushing your way through whatever it is and trying to knock down the things in your way so that your bravery gets you to where you want to be. But in courage of having an open heart, you just go into it with that openness. You don't know what the outcome will be, but you have a courageous open heart and you can make your way through and things can come at you. And with your open heart, you can deal with them. With courage, you don't crumble. With bravery, there can be a weakness. With courage, you are the lion on fire from your heart to go and do the thing that is calling to you to be courageous in. And that gives you the power and the energy from your open heart to do it. Bravery is a face, it's a front. There's no open heart in bravery. There's maybe ego and a contraction to Make yourself feel like you're gonna get this done, but not the openness and trusting and courage of the heart that you have what it takes, no matter what the outcome is, and that you can face it, face the challenge. Other virtues of the heart that are open to you as feelings, as energy frequencies that you can possess naturally by doing these practices of opening the heart, like the inner smile, are love, trust, generosity, kindness, hope, peace, joy. These are all things that we cannot connect with in the mind fully because they are of the trueness of an open heart. When you have trust, you can't fake your head. You can't fake your head and your mind into having trust. Your heart has to be open to have the trust. So these virtues of the open heart, they can be a part of the new order. And practicing opening your heart and opening to the awareness of your heart, you become more in tune with that design that God has implanted, that God has designed, that God has designed you with, that God has designed for you to access within yourself. Maybe it's time in a new order to be now more attuned with and connected into that design God has given to us, and less cabled and kept down by the indoctrination of the human systems that are in place all around us and in our life. You know, what if some of the human structures that have been put into place are not true? What if there's falseness in them? What if they are misguiding us? What if they are meant to have misguided us in our humanness? What if they were meant to keep us away from a part of health and wellness and being fully able to live in openness and open-heartedness? What if some things have been put into place to control the human narrative that is not of God, but your heart is? And so coming back to your heart is a sure way to start to have more light and to start to reorder the structure of how you live in the truth of the light of God within you as your heart, as your way. You know, it was fascinating because the other day I was listening to an informational blip, and it was talking about the light body practices. And that's what drew me to listen to it, because the meditations that I have been taught by Kevin Nefero and Acuenergetics, they are light body practices. So my ear perked up and I listened to this audio, and it was talking about how Jesus knew the light body practices, and he taught them and he shared them with others, and they were practices that he did. But then in everything that happened after Jesus' death and in the church becoming an organized religion, those documents, those practices, they were destroyed. they were destroyed by the church because the church saw that if people knew that they could do these practices on their own, these light body practices, and bring more light into their body. And what they talked about was how Jesus had talked about that everybody could become Christ like. That energy, that light, everybody could have it. And that if people were their own way in the practices, nobody would need church. There would be no place for church. And so the church destroyed them, wiped them out. Now, I'm not saying, I don't know. I don't know. But I get something out of church when I go. I've learned a lot of spiritual things that are of value. But there's an indoctrination there too, right? There are definitely things about some churches I've been to that I don't like and I don't agree with, and things that I take, with a grain of salt, or I don't take at all. It's not for me. I leave that part. For instance, like the other day, I went to church, and there was a song, and the verse in the song was, nobody is worthy but Jesus. And then it was like, who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? And in my head, I kept saying, me. I'm worthy. Like, I'm a good person. I'm worthy of God's love, right? You are too. But the next verse after asking in the song, who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? Was no one but Jesus. And I felt like that lost the point completely and was spinning and saying a narrative that didn't feel true in my heart. That we're all just these, little nobodies. No, that's not how God feels. You are somebody to God, and He loves you, and you are worthy. So I did not agree with that song. And that's just an example of, being able to get something from church, but not believing in everything that it says and does, because, religion is man made, spirituality is God made. And in religion being man made, man's, angle with it is not always right or correct. And it can get us off the path from sometimes what God really wants for us, which is to be connected to Him in our heart and to live with an open heart. And so these light body practices that Jesus used to teach and that were destroyed in the church, the program I was listening to talked about how were discovered in ancient texts, the Nag Hammadi, I believe it's called, which was discovered in Egypt in 1945, and in the text of the book of Philip, the Pistis Sophia, I think it was called, and the book of Thomas. There are ideas and thoughts and talk about just the light body, but just a different view of Jesus and different perception than what has been the indoctrined religion of who Jesus was and what He was really about, what his teaching is. And with that, is Jesus the Savior? I believe yes. But can you be your own Savior? I believe yes. I don't think it's that one excludes the other. I think that both operate at the same time in different ways. And maybe sometimes we need Jesus to save us because we can't do it ourselves. And so His Spirit comes upon us, and we feel that presence and that change in a tangible, non physical way that is beautiful and a gift and a blessing. And it is true. But sometimes when Jesus can't reach us, we can save ourselves. We can do the things to help ourselves in our life. We can open our heart. We can be courageous to face troubles that we have or pains that we have in the past, to make right of wrongs in our life. Is that not having an open heart, enabling yourself to be a savior unto yourself? Your thoughts are your own right now, and your journey is your own. And I am here to offer you this practice in support of a new order of opening your heart. The inner smile is a light body practice. And by doing it, you not only open your heart, but you open that flow of light divinity that comes into your heart for your own goodness, and that then can pour out from your heart in you doing goodness. And it's not a miracle pill. It's not an overnight solution. It's a practice. So take this today and practice it every day a little bit. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you can, and open yourself to a new order of being light in the world. Go ahead and close your eyes and just feel your breath. Relax with me a little bit by feeling your breath and centering on yourself. The way that the inner smile works is that you think of something that makes you smile. You feel what it feels like to be smiling. And then you drop your attention into the center of your chest, which is your heart center. And you feel there. Whatever it is you feel, you just feel an openness, an open awareness. And then when your mind starts to wander and wander, you just come back to that trigger thought that makes you smile, smile, and then drop into the heart and feel. We are going to do that repetitively, and that is the practice of the inner smile. So again, just feel your breath to center. Now think of something that makes you smile. Once the corners of your mouth are gently turned upwards, feel in the center of your chest and just notice how the smile energy feels in your body at your heart center. Linger here in feeling as long as you can. And when the feeling starts to fade, or your mind starts to chatter at you more, just be aware that you're thinking more than feeling, and let that awareness bring you back into the practice. And by coming back to the practice, you now will think of another thing that brings a smile to your lips. It can be different or it can be the same. Once you're smiling, drop that thought and come into your body in the center of your chest and feel your heart. Be one with the feeling and experience it fully. You might notice different sensations. There's no need to label it with a word, to analyze, or to think about it. The more you can just stay in the experience of feeling what you're feeling, the more your heart can open. And now just continue to repeat that same cycle. When your mind wanders or the feeling fades, come back to a thought that will trigger a smile, a genuine smile on your lips, where the corners of your mouth gently turn upwards, lifting your heart. And when you have that genuine smile, then you drop your attention into the center of your chest and feel what your heart feels like in that smile energy. I want you to do this practice, this cycle on your own now. And when you notice you're wandering away, come back to the trigger and repeat it in your own time. And when you're ready, take a breath, open your eyes. What if the new order is you getting your heart in order? They talk about the second coming of Jesus. And I've had thoughts and have wondered, let my mind wander into the thoughts of the potential that what if Jesus' second coming is in you, is in us, through our hearts, through God's light coming through each our hearts in the world. Would not the light and the presence of God be felt if our hearts were more open and more in tune with what He designed us to be? Live your heart. Live your heart. Live your heart.